Moshi Moshi. I'm your host, Spiffy Tate, and welcome back to another reading of the Book of Mormon. I hope you all have been alright and doing fine. Today is a okay day for me so far. Guys, no need to rush this series. Take your time with the series, of course. We're just doing a reading and talking every so often, and sometimes just bitching, just complaining, really. Yeah, that's what I do. And well, I didn't say much in the last chapter, and we'll see what I got to say about these chapters here. We'll see. I might stay quiet for this one, but we'll see. Alma. Actually, I didn't say what chapter I was reading. I'm reading chapter 43. That's where we last left off here. And it says, Alma and his sons preached the word. The Zoramites and other Nephite dissenters become Lamanites. The Lamanites come against the Nephites in war. Moroni. Moroni arms the Nephites with defensive armor. The Lord reveals to Alma the strategies of the Lamanites. The Nephites defend their homes, liberties, families, and religion. The armies of Moroni and Lehi surround the Lamanites. Wait, the armies of Moroni are already around here? I thought Moroni don't come until way later in the book. Maybe this is some guy he was named after. I don't know. This can't be the same Moroni, right? There's no way. And now it came to pass that the sons of Alma did go forth among the people to declare the word unto them. And Alma also himself could not rest, and he also went forth. Now we shall say no more concerning their preaching, except that they preached the word and the truth, according to the spirit of prophecy and revelation, and they preached after the holy order of God by which they were called. And now I return to an account of the wars between the Nephites and the Lamanites in the 18th year of the reign of the judges. For behold, it came to pass that the Zoramites became Lamanites. Therefore, in the commencement of the 18th year, the people of the Nephites saw the Lamanites were coming upon them. Therefore they made preparations for war. Yea, they gathered together their armies in the land of Jorshan. And it came to pass that the Lamanites came with their thousands, and they came into the land of Anti-Onum, which is the land of the Zoramites. And a man by the name of Zerahimna was their leader. And now, as the Amalekites were of a most wicked and murderous disposition than the Lamanites were in and of themselves, therefore Zehimna appointed chief captains over the Lamanites, and they were all Amalekites and Zoramites. Now this he did that he might preserve their hatred towards the Nephites, that he might bring them into subjection to the accomplishments of his designs. For behold, his designs were to stir up the Lamanites to anger against the Nephites. This he did that he might usurp a great power over them, and also that he might gain power over the Nephites by bringing them into bondage. And now the design of the Nephites was to support their lands, and their houses, and their wives, and their children, that they might preserve them from the hands of their enemies. And also they might preserve their rights and their privileges, yea, and also their liberty, that they might worship God according to their desires. For they knew that if they should fall into the hands of the Lamanites, that whosoever should worship God in spirit and in truth, the true and living God, the Lamanites would destroy. Yea, and they also knew the extreme hatred of the Lamanites towards their brethren, who were the people of Anti-Nephi-Lehi, who were called the people of Ammon. And they would not take up arms. Yea, they had entered into a covenant, and they would not break it. Therefore, if they should fall into the hands of the Lamanites, they would be destroyed. And the Nephites would not suffer that they should be destroyed. Therefore they gave them land for their inheritance. And the people of Ammon did give unto the Nephites a large portion of their substance to support their armies, and thus the Nephites were compelled alone to withstand against the Lamanites, who were a compound of Laman and Lemuel, the sons of Ishmael, and all those who had descended from the Nephites, who were Amalekites and Zoramites, and the descendants of the priest of Noah. Now those descendants were as numerous, nearly as were the Nephites. And thus the Nephites were obligated to contend with their brethren even unto bloodshed. And it came to pass, as the armies of the Lamanites had gathered together in the land of Antionum, behold, the armies of the Nephites were prepared to meet them in the land of Joshan. Now the leader of the Nephites, or the man who had been appointed to be the chief captain over the Nephites, now the chief captain took the command of all the armies of the Nephites, and his name was Moroni. And Moroni took all the command and the government of their wars. And he was only 25 years old when he was appointed chief captain over the armies of the Nephites. And it came to pass that he met the Lamanites in the borders of Joshan, and his people were armed with swords and with scimitars and all manners of weapons of war. And when the armies of the Lamanites saw the people of Nephi, or that Moroni had prepared his people with breastplates and with arm shields, yea, and also shields to defend their heads, and also they were dressed with thick clothing. Now the army of the Zarahemnah was not prepared with any such thing. They had only their swords and their scimitars, their bows and their arrows, their stones and their slings, and they were naked, save it were a skin which was girdled about their loins. Yea, all were naked, save it were the Zoramites and the Amalekites. But they were not armed with breastplates nor shields. Therefore they were exceedingly afraid of the army of the Nephites, because of their armor, notwithstanding their number being so much greater than the Nephites. Behold, now it came to pass that they durst not come against the Nephites in the border of Joshan. Therefore they departed out of the land of Antionum into the wilderness, and they took their journey round about in the wilderness, away by the head of the river Sidon, that they might come into the land of Manti, and take possession of the land. For they did not suppose that the armies of Moroni would know whither they had gone. But it came to pass, as soon as they departed into the wilderness, Moroni sent spies into the wilderness to watch their camp. And Moroni, also knowing of the prophecies of Alma, sent certain men unto him, desiring him that he should inquire of the Lord, whether the armies of the Nephites should go to defend themselves against the Lamanites. And it came to pass that the word of the Lord came unto Alma, and Alma informed the messengers of Moroni, that the armies of the Lamanites were marching around about in the wilderness, that they might come over into the land of Manti, that they might commence an attack upon the weaker part of the people. And those messengers went and delivered the message unto Moroni. Now Moroni, leaving a part of his army in the land of Jerushan, lest by any means a part of the Lamanites should come into the land and take possession of the city, take the remaining part of his army and march over into the land of Manti. And he caused that all the people in that quarter of the land should gather themselves together to battle against the Lamanites, to defend their lands and their country, their rights and their liberties. Therefore they were prepared against the time of the coming of the Lamanites. And it came to pass that Moroni caused that his army should be secreted in the valley which was near the bank of the river of Sidon, which was on the west of the river of Sidon in the wilderness. And Moroni placed spies round about, that he might know when the camp of the Lamanites should come. And now as Moroni knew the intentions of the Lamanites, that it was their intention to destroy their brethren, or to subject them and bring them into bondage, that they might establish a kingdom unto themselves over all the land. And he also, knowing that it was the only desire of the Nephites to preserve their lands and their liberty and their church, therefore he thought it no sin that he should defend them by Stragatagim. What the hell am I saying? Stratagem. I don't know. Maybe it's in back here. Let's see. No, not this one. Not this one. Won't. Stratagem. Anyway, therefore he found by his spies which course the Lamanites were to take. Therefore he divided his armies and brought a part over into the valley, and concealed them on the east and on the south of the hill Riplah. Okay. And the remainder he concealed in the west valley on the west side, the west of the river Sidon, and so down into the borders of the land Manti. And thus, having placed his armies according to his desires, he was prepared to meet them. And it came to pass that the Lamanites came up on the north of the hill, where a part of the army of Moroni was concealed. And as the Lamanites had passed the hill Riplah, and it came into the valley, and began to cross the river of Sidon, the army which was concealed on the south of the hill, which was led by a man whose name was Lehi, and he led his armies forth and encircled the Lamanites about on the east in their rear. And it came to pass that the Lamanites, when they saw the Nephites coming upon them in their rear, turned them about and began to contend with the army of Lehi. And the work of death commenced on both sides, but it was more dreadful on the part of the Lamanites, for their nakedness was exposed to the heavy blows of the Nephites with their swords and their cimeters, which brought the death almost at every stroke. While on the other hand, there was now and then a man fell among the Nephites by their swords and the loss of blood, they being shielded from the more vital parts of the body, or the more vital parts of the body being shielded down from the strokes of the Lamanites by their breastplates and their arm shields and their head plates. And thus the Nephites did carry on the work of death among the Nephites. And it came to pass that the Lamanites became frightened because of the great destruction among them, even until they began to flee towards the river Sidon. And they were pursued by Lehi and his men, and they were driven by Lehi into the waters of Sidon. And they crossed the rivers of Sidon, and Lehi retained his armies upon the bank of the river Sidon, that they should not cross. And it came to pass that Moroni and his armies met the Lamanites in the valley on the other side of the river of Sidon, and began to fall upon them to slay them. And the Lamanites did flee again before them towards the land of Manti, and they were met again by the armies of Moroni. Now in this case the Lamanites did fight exceedingly. Yea, never had the Lamanites been known to fight with such exceedingly great strength and courage. No, not even from the beginning. And they were inspired by the Zoramites and the Amalekites, who were their chief captains and leaders, and by Zerahemnah, who was their chief captain or their chief leader and commander. Yea, they did fight like dragons, and many of the Nephites were slain by their hands. Yea, for they did smite into many of their head plates, and they did pierce many of their breastplates, and they did smite off many of their arms. And thus the Lamanites did smite in their fierce anger. Nevertheless, the Nephites were inspired by a better cause, for they were not fighting for monarchy nor power, but they were fighting for their homes and their liberties, their wives and their children, and their all, yea, for their rights of worship and their church. And they were doing that which they felt was the duty which they owed to their God. For the Lord had said unto them, and also unto their fathers, that inasmuch as ye are not guilty of the first offense, neither the second, ye shall not suffer yourself to be slain by the hands of your enemies. And again the Lord hath said that ye shall defend your families even unto bloodshed. Therefore, for this cause were the Nephites contending with the Lamanites to defend themselves and their families and their lands and their country and their rights and their religion. And it came to pass that when the men of Moroni saw the fierceness and the anger of the Lamanites, they were about to shrink and flee from them. And Moroni, perceiving their intent, sent forth and inspired their hearts with these thoughts, yea, the thoughts of their lands, their liberty, yea, their freedom from bondage. And it came to pass that they turned upon the Lamanites, and they cried with one voice unto the Lord their God for their liberty and their freedom from bondage. And they began to stand against the Lamanites with power. And in the selfsame hour that they cried unto the Lord for their freedom, the Lamanites began to flee before them, and they fled even to the waters of Sidon. Now the Lamanites were more numerous, yea, by more than double the number of the Nephites. Nevertheless, they were driven in so much that they were gathered together in one body in the valley upon the bank by the river Sidon. Therefore the armies of Moroni encircled them about, yea, even on both sides of the river. For behold, on the east side were the men of Lehi. Therefore, when Zerahemnah saw the men of Lehi on the east of the river Sidon, and the armies of Moroni on the west of the river Sidon, that they were encircled about by the Nephites, they were struck with terror. Now Moroni, when he saw their terror, commanded his men that they should stop shedding their blood. All right, and that's how that chapter ends. It's 54 verses, and I guess his commands continue on into the next chapter, chapter 44. All right. Now that fight was a bit confusing at first, but it started making a bit more sense when reading on and such. This is probably why I don't say much about it. But let's continue on to chapter 44. Moroni commands the Lamanites to make a covenant of peace or be destroyed. Zerahemnah rejects the offer, and the battle resumes. Moroni's army defeats the Lamanites. Awesome. Let's read that. And it came to pass that they did stop and withdrew a pass from them. And Moroni said unto Zerahemnah, Behold, Zerahemnah, that we do not desire to be men of blood. Ye know that ye are in our hands. Yet we do not desire to slay you. Behold, we have not come out to battle against you that we might shed your blood for power. Neither do we desire to bring anyone to the yoke of bondage. But this is the very cause for which ye have come against us. Yea, and ye are angry with us because of our religion. And now ye behold that the Lord is with us, and ye behold that he has delivered you into our hands. And now I would that ye should understand that this is done unto us because of our religion and our faith in Christ. And now ye see that ye cannot destroy this our faith. Now ye see that this is the true faith of God. Yea, ye see that God will support and keep and preserve us so long as we are faithful unto him and unto our faith and our religion, and never will the Lord suffer that we shall be destroyed, except we fall into transgression and deny our faith. Alrighty, yeah, that makes sense. And now, Zerahemnah, I command you in the name of that all-powerful God who has strengthened our arms, that we have gained power over you by our faith, by our religion, and by our rites of worship, and by our church, and by the sacred support which we owe to our wives and our children, by the liberty which binds us to our lands and our country, yea, and also by the maintenance of the sacred word of God, to which we owe all our happiness, and by all that it is most dear unto us. Yea, and this is not all. I command you by all the desires which ye have for life, that ye deliver up your weapons of war unto us. And we will seek not your blood, but we will spare your lives. And if ye will go your way, and come not again to war against us. And now if ye do not do this, behold, ye are in our hands. And I will command my men that they shall fall upon you, and inflict the wounds of death in your bodies, that ye may become extinct. And then we will see who shall have power over this people. Yea, we will see who shall be brought into bondage. And now it came to pass that when Zarahemnah had heard these sayings, he came forth and delivered up his sword and his scimitar and his bow into the hands of Moroni, and said unto him, Behold, here are our weapons of war. We will deliver them up unto you, but we will not suffer ourselves to take an oath unto you, which we know that we shall break, and also our children, but take our weapons of war, and suffer that we may depart into the wilderness. Otherwise we will retain our swords, and we will perish or conquer. Behold, we are not of your faith. We do not believe that it is God that has delivered us into your hands, but we believe that it is your cunning that has preserved you from our swords. Behold, it is your breastplates and your shields that have preserved you. And now when Zarahemnah had made an end of speaking these words, Moroni returned the sword and the weapons of war which he had received unto Zarahemnah, and saying, Behold, we will end the conflict. Now I cannot recall the words which I have spoken, therefore, as the Lord liveth, ye shall not depart, except ye depart with an oath, that ye will not return again against us to war. Now, as ye are in our hands, we will spill your blood upon the ground, or ye shall submit to the conditions which I have proposed. And now when Moroni had said these words, Zarahemnah retained his sword, and he was angry with Moroni. And he rushed forward that he might slay Moroni. But as he raised his sword, behold, one of Moroni's soldiers smote it, even to the earth, and it broke by the hilt. And he was also smote Zarahemnah, that he took off his scalp, and it fell to the earth. And Zarahemnah withdrew from before them into the midst of his soldiers. What? And it came to pass that the soldier who stood by, who smote off the scalp of Zarahemnah, took up the scalp from off the ground by the hair, and laid it upon the point of his sword, and stretched it forth unto them, saying unto them with a loud voice, Even as this scalp has fallen to the earth, which is the scalp of your chief, so shall ye fall to the earth, except ye will deliver upon your weapons of war, and depart with a covenant of peace. Now there were many, when they heard these words, and saw the scalp which was upon the sword, that were struck with fear. And many came forth and threw down their weapons of war at the feet of Moroni, and entered a covenant of peace. And as many as entered into a covenant of peace, a covenant, they suffered to depart into the wilderness. Now it came to pass that Zarahemnah was exceedingly wroth, and he did stir up the remainder of his soldiers to anger, to contend with more powerfully against the Nephites. And now Moroni was angry because of the stubbornness of the Lamanites. Therefore he commanded his people that they should fall upon them and slay them. And it came to pass that they began to slay them. Yea, and the Lamanites did contend with their swords and their might. But behold, their naked skins and their bare heads were exposed to the sharp swords of the Nephites. Yea, behold, they were pierced and smitten. Yea, and did fall exceedingly fast before the swords of the Nephites. And they began to be swept down, even as the soldier of Moroni had prophesied. Now Zarahemnah, when he saw that they were all about to be destroyed, cried mightily unto Moroni promising that he would covenant and also his people with them if they would spare the remainder of their lives, that they never would come to war again against them. And it came to pass that Moroni caused the work of death should cease against among the people. And he took the weapons of war from the Lamanites. And after they had entered a covenant with him of peace, they were suffered to depart into the wilderness. Now the number of their dead was not numbered because of the greatness of the number. Yea, the number of their dead was exceedingly great, both on the Nephites and the Lamanites. And it came to pass that they did cast their dead into the waters of Sidon, and they had gone forth and are buried in the depths of the sea. And the armies of the Nephites or of Moroni returned and came to their houses and their lands. And thus ended the 18th year of the reign of the judges over the people of Nephi. And thus ended the record of Alma, which was written upon the plates of Nephi. Oh, okay, now what am I going to be reading? We'll find out. We got another bracket here. And this is a big compilation here. It's basically the remainder of the book. Besides like one chapter, the last chapter. And it says, I'll show you right here. Right here, bam. And basically, it says, the account of the people of Nephi and their wars and dissensions in the days of Helaman, according to the record of Helaman, which he kept in his days. Comprising chapter 45 through 62. Oh boy. So, is Helaman now comprising these words, I guess? I'm assuming. Because now we're ending the record of Alma here. So, that's what it said in the previous chapter. So, we'll see. We'll see what it says. Comprising chapter 45 through 62. That's like the rest of this book. Helaman, chapter 45 says, Helaman believes the words of Alma. Alma prophesies the destruction of the Nephites. He blesses and curses the land. Alma may have been taken up by the Spirit, even as Moses. Dissension grew in the church. Awesome. We'll read what that's going to say here in a minute. Behold, now it came to pass that the people of Nephi were exceedingly rejoiced, because the Lord had again delivered them out of the hands of their enemies. Therefore they gave thanks unto the Lord their God, yea, and they did fast much and prayed much, and they did worship God with exceedingly great joy. And it came to pass in the 19th year of the reign of the judges over the people of Nephi, that Alma came unto his son Helaman, and said unto him, Believest thou the words which I spake unto thee concerning those records which have been kept? And Helaman said unto him, Yea, I believe. And Alma said again, Believest thou in Jesus Christ, who shall come? And he said, Yea, I believe all the words which thou hast spoken. And Alma said unto him again, Will ye keep my commandments? And he said, Yea, I will keep thy commandments with all my heart. Then Alma said unto him, Blessed art thou, and the Lord shall prosper thee in this land. But behold, I have somewhat to prophesy unto thee. But what I prophesy unto thee, ye shall not make known. What I prophesy unto thee shall not be made known, even until the prophecy is fulfilled. Okay. Therefore write the words which I shall say. And these are the words: Behold, I perceive that this very people, the Nephites, according to the spirit of revelation which is in me. So you see, we're a revelation from God, like Joseph Smith, I guess. And 400 years from the time that Jesus Christ shall manifest himself unto them shall dwindle in unbelief. Yea, and then shall they see wars and pestilence, yea, famines and bloodshed, even until the people of Nephi shall become extinct. Yea, and this because they shall dwindle in unbelief and fall into the works of darkness and lavishness and all manners of iniquity. Yea, I say unto you, that because they shall sin against so great light and knowledge, yea, I say unto you, that from that day even the fourth generation shall not all pass away before this great iniquity shall come. And when that great day cometh, behold, the time very soon cometh that those who are now, or the seed of those who are now numbered among the people of Nephi, shall no more be numbered among the people of Nephi. But whosoever remaineth and is not destroyed in that great and dreadful day shall be numbered among the Lamanites, and shall become like unto them, all save it be a few who shall be called the disciples of the Lord. And them shall the Lamanites pursue even until they shall become extinct. And now because of iniquity this prophecy shall be fulfilled. And now it came to pass that after Alma had said these things to Helaman, he blessed him, and also his other sons. And he also blessed the earth for the righteous sake. And he saith, Thus saith the Lord God, Cursed shall be the land, yea, this land unto every nation, kindred tongue, and people, unto destruction, which do wickedly, which when they are fully ripe, and as I have said, so shall it be. For this is the cursing and the blessing of God upon the land. For the Lord cannot look upon sin with the least degree of allowance. And now when Alma had said these words, he blessed the church, yea, all those who should stand fast in the faith from that time henceforth. And when Alma had done this, he departed out of the land of Zarahemla, as if to go into the land of Milek. And it came to pass that he was never heard of more. What? As to his death or burial, we know not of. Behold, this we know, that he was a righteous man, that the saying went abroad in the church that he was taken up by the Spirit, or buried by the hand of the Lord, even as Moses. But behold, the scriptures saith the Lord took Moses unto himself, and we suppose that he has also received Alma in the Spirit unto himself. Therefore, for this cause we know nothing concerning his death and burial. Well, that's confusing as shit. So he just disappeared. He just went missing. He's like, alright, bro, I'm gonna go head to this land. See you later. Your high priest just goes missing out of the blue, and everyone's like, hey, the Lord took his spirit. Like, bro, like, hold on, where'd my father go? like, hold on. I'm not saying this didn't happen or his son doesn't believe it. I'm just like, I think they'll look for him a little bit, but I guess not. These are all just assumptions. It's not like anyone saw it. And now it came to pass, in the commencement of the 19th year of the reign of the judges over the people of Nephi, that Helaman went forth among the people to declare the word unto them. For behold, because of their wars with the Lamanites and the many little dissensions and disturbances which had been among the people, it became expedient that the word of God should be declared among them, yea, that a regulation should be made throughout the church. Therefore Helaman and his brethren went forth to establish the church again in all the land, yea, in every city throughout all the land which was possessed by the people of Nephi. And it came to pass that they did appoint priests and teachers throughout all the land over all the churches. And now it came to pass that after Helaman and his brethren had appointed priests and teachers over the churches, that there arose a dissension among them, and they would not give heed to the words of Helaman and his brethren, but they grew proud, being lifted up in their hearts, because of their exceedingly great riches. Therefore they grew rich in their own eyes, and would not give heed to their words, to walk uprightly before God. So it seems like maybe Alma's prophecy might come sooner than we thought, or at least his people in his land, the land of Zarahemla. We'll just have to see. But that's all I'm gonna read today. I mean, that wasn't too long of a chapter, but I can already see this next chapter. Yeah, this next chapter is gonna be somewhat long, so we'll save that for the next video episode, I should say, of the Book of Mormon. I mean, we should just take it slowly but surely here. I mean, some of these videos are already pretty long. I think 3 chapters will be okay today. I don't got no background stuff or nothing. It's just me wearing a purple ass shirt. That's it. Excuse me, but we didn't say much today. I shut the fuck up for once. But will I do that tomorrow? I don't know. We'll have to see, but I mean, it's not like Alma's prediction is wrong, right? Because that's what happens, right? And eventually the Lamanites will take out the Nephites, and Mormon and Moroni, you know, his father and his son are like the last 2 Nephites, and Mormon, you know, he does comprise the words of Mormon. I believe that's him. I believe that's Moroni, and he writes his own book and all that, and then gives his book to his son, and he finishes his account and then buries the plates, right? You know, that's what happens. So I already know that his prophecy is going to be fulfilled just based on that alone. But I'm also curious if his prophecy will also be more locally for the for the people who live in Zarahemla. So that's what I'm thinking, that they're gonna be destroyed way before the Nephites are all destroyed. Let's see if that prediction comes to fruition. I'm gonna predict that Zarahemla will be destroyed before all the Nephites are destroyed. Okay, we'll see. We'll see if he's... I know he's mainly talking about all the Nephites over all the land. You know, this is one prophecy that's gonna take a minute, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But I think he may be talking a bit more locally too, right? So I'm thinking maybe in a few more chapters we're gonna be reading about how Zarahemla fell, or some crazy ass shit. Ugh. But But we'll be reading the wars and dissensions of the days of Helaman, and that's gonna be a lot. I mean, chapters 45 through 62, and I only read one chapter of it, so I'll probably reread that for the next episode, so I'll get prepared for me to say that again. But I hope to see you all in the next episode. Thank you all for being here. It's been a great read. I'm actually enjoying the book. I don't know how many times I've said that, but even as a non-believer, I think the story is kind of interesting. It's just I get a kick out of it. It's nice. It's something different, you know. I feel a bit closer to this than I ever felt with the Holy Bible, if that makes sense. It just seems a bit more, I don't know. What am I trying to say? Less, damaging. What I mean by that is, like, there's not a lot of, like, really fucked up shit in there to read. As of so far. I mean, the Bible has some really messed up stuff in it. But yeah. That's all I wanted to say today. This is Biff Tate signing off. I'll catch you all later. Bye-bye. I'll smell you later, too. P.U.